Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Wild Magic Sorcerer Build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. I think this is one of the most fun subclasses in the game, and how it works. Every time you cast a spell, you roll a d20, and if it rolls on a 20, you get a Wild Magic Surge, which has some pretty cool abilities I'll be breaking down in this video. You can also use the Tides of Chaos to get advantage on your next ability check, so like an attack roll or a saving throw, and then you have a 50% chance of getting a Wild Magic Surge afterwards. Some of my favorites are the one that turns the entire group in a 9-meter radius into cats and dogs. You can also summon in things like a cambion that your team has to fight and the enemies will have to fight as well. You also can apply burning to a group of enemies. You can make an exploding heal. So whenever you cast a spell, it does a huge area of effect heal on everybody, enemies and friendlies. There's also things like giving yourself action surge, shield, telekinesis, polymorph, enlarge or reduce a group of enemies around you. There's a lot of cool abilities that can come with this, so just if you want to pause here and read through it, it's on the Baldur's Gate 3 wiki, but there's a lot of them. Some of them are not great for yourself, and some of them actually benefit the enemies. It's cool. So with this, we'll be going with the cantrips. I would recommend having Mage Hand. That's always a good spell to have. You can use this to a lot of things in Act 1. Also, Minor Illusion's great too if you need to steal things, but if we want damaging spells, Firebolt to explode things. I like to have Ray of Frost or Shocking Grasp. If you're the phase of the party, take Friends, or otherwise you can go with the Bone Chill spell as well. We can also get the Ray of Frost from the Morning Frost staff. I would recommend grabbing that in Act 1. And for the spells, I would recommend grabbing Shield, increase your armor class by 5, and Magic Missile for guaranteed damage. And ability score wise, we're going to want to go high in the dexterity, so we're going to take that up to 16. We're going to go with 14 constitution, 10 intelligence and wisdom, and 16 charisma as our main spellcasting stat. Make sure you got the skill proficiency in persuasion if you're the face of the party. Level 2 gives us our meta magics. These are kind of a core principle here, with twin spell allowing you to twin haste to yourself and someone else, which is extremely useful. I personally really like Quicken Spell, but for our next level spell, you can take Mage Armor to increase your armor class by 3 when you're wearing robes. Or you can use a robe of Mage Armor. There's a lot of them in the early game. Otherwise, Thunderwave's a good spell. Ice Knife's great if you get silenced, and Chromatic Orb gives you a variety of different elemental damage types. I think Thunderwave is the best. I'm also using Mr. Spells there, so you can ignore those. We won't be using those for the purpose of this build. But level 3 gives us our best ability with Quicken Spell. This allows us to cast bonus action spells, which I don't have to explain how good that is. It gives us a lot of combat versatility. Now, early game damage, Scorching Ray is going to be our best option, but I also like to grab Hold Person, so you could replace a spell at level 3 if you wanted to, and remove the Thunderwave and take Hold Person, because Hold Person into a Scorching Ray, free critical hits on all those Scorching Rays. Level 4 gives us another cantrip here. Acid Splash is an okay choice if you wanted it, but I like Ray of Frost just to reduce the target's movement speed, and it also triggers things like the Boots of Stormy Clamor. Now, we're going to grab Hold Person here at this level. Darkness and Cloud of Daggers are 2 other good spells, and I also like to have Mirror Image to increase armor class by 9, and Misty Step are some other great spells here, but I think we'll roll with what we got there. And for our first feat, I would always recommend go with a Charisma increase. However, Alert for the +5 to Initiative is also a pretty good option, so you could go with that too if you prefer. Now, once we hit level 5 here, we get access to one of the best spells in the game with Fireball and Haste. Haste, I don't have to explain it. It gives you an extra action, so if you apply it on yourself, you get to cast another spell and increase your armor class by 2, and you double your movement speed. And the sorcerer can twin this to themselves and another caster, so you can give that to your wizard or your cleric, and then they can cast 2 spells per turn. Or if you're outside of honor mode, your fighter can get 3 more attacks, so it's really good. I also like Lightning Bolt and Counterspell, but I would recommend Haste is not a bad spell to have overall. But if you want a pure damage spell, it's either Fireball or Lightning Bolt. And then if you wanted to, you could replace something like your Thunderwave and then go ahead with grabbing something like Counterspell, which we always want to have Counterspell. It's just going to keep us safe as the enemy can really destroy us if we don't have Counterspell. Level 6, Bend to Luck. Give a target a 1d4 bonus or penalty to ability checks. You can apply this bonus or penalty to a target's attack roll, saving throw as a reaction. This does take 2 sorcery points, but doesn't use an action or a bonus action, so that's nice. We also get another sorcery point here. We can also replenish sorcery points as a wild magic surge, and what it does is it'll replenish them equal to your spell level. So if you cast Chain Lightning, you get 6 sorcery points back, so that's 2 more Quicken spells. Actually crazy when you get that one. Next level here, again, Haste being extremely useful if you want it. In honor mode, I'd be a little cautious around Haste, because if you get lethargic after Haste breaks, so if you lose your concentration, you can get wrecked really badly. Level 7 gives us a really good crowd control spell with Ice Storm. I also like Sleet Storm. That's a good spell to stops concentrations, but Ice Storm will do kind of the same. Almost, it makes a difficult terrain with ice, which they can slip on and lose concentrations. but it does damage, so that's a big difference there. It does cost a higher level spell slot. Now, once we get to level 8 here, we got all the spells that we want here. Wall of Fire can be okay if you like that spell, so we can grab Haste there we previously didn't grab, and we're going to go with an increase to our Charisma there to take it up to 20. So level 9 gives us access to another really high damage spell with Cone of Cold doing an 8d8 of cold damage, and we also get some more sorcery points and level 5 spell slot, so that's great. Level 10 here gives us access to another cantrip, so I love Booming Blade, but doesn't have a spot here. Acid Splash, an okay choice. For spells, I also like Insect Plague here because this can cause difficult terrain in an area. Hold Monster being another really useful spell to have, as there's some bosses in the game that can get destroyed by it. And for meta magics, I guess Heightened Spell can give you a good benefit. Careful Spell can keep your team safe, so that's not actually a bad choice for the Wild Magic Sorcerer. And level 11 gives us a subclass feature, Controlled Chaos, kind of like the Wanda Maximoff Scarlet Witch ability in Marvel Rivals, but foes may suffer a Wild Magic Surge when casting spells near you. What this means is you get a reaction ability. If you have another caster, let's say your cleric casts a spell, you can make a Wild Magic Surge, or it applies to enemies, so you can make that happen. And again, sometimes the Wild Magic Surge benefit them. It's the randomness of it that makes it so much fun. But at level 11, we get our best spell here with Chain Lightning, so we will definitely want to grab that. Now, for the final level, there's a couple ways we can go. I like to go with a multi-class if a sorcerer. I always take it to level 11. That's the best way to do it. But we can add in either the Cleric and take the Tempest Domain Cleric here, which will give us a reaction, so we now have an attack. If someone attacks us, we can strike back with Lightning. It also gives us our Thunderwave spell back, which I removed previously. And then we can also get Create Water, which will double Chain Lightning, which is really good because you can do this as your main spell and then do a quickened Chain Lightning for double damage. Alternatively, if you don't want to add in the Cleric, the Wizard will allow us to scribe spells from scrolls. It gives us some more cantrips. And what we want to do with the Wizard is we want to learn Globe of Invulnerability, Minor and Normal Elementals, because none of these require Intelligence. You can also use the Intelligence Circlet to be able to cast those spells. You can prepare 4 of them with that item. I don't always like this option. You could also start with the Fighter for an extra, I guess the Sorcerer also has Constitution Saving Throw proficiency, but you can also go straight to level 12 and take the Alert feat. I really like just going with the Tempest Domain here. It also gives us some extra cantrips that we normally wouldn't get. Guidance always being a good thing to have. Sacred Flame, we're not going to use those, but we get our beloved Thunderwave back. But again, this is going to use the Wisdom stat, which we don't have very high. However, we can also set our Arcane Acuity up with a specific couple items, so not a major deal. This will just give us heavy armor and the Creator Destroy Water, so it's entirely your choice. There's also an item that is specific to the Wild Magic Sorcerer with the Ring of Feywild Spark. So when your Sorceress Tides a Chaos feature is active, you will always trigger Wild Magic Surge when casting spells. Boom! It's pretty crazy. We'll show off that in this video. I also like to just give ourselves some more defense with the Ring of Protection, but you can also go with the Callous Glow Ring to deal additional damage against targets that are illuminated. The Ring of Mental Inhibition here is nice too. Whenever a foe fails a saving throw, they get Mental Fatigue, -2 to all their mental saves. So that can be really good for landing things like Hold Person afterwards. And the Ring of Free Action is always nice too, just so that we don't get screwed over and stuck in place. I also like to use a Hat of Fire Acuity. This can give us a +10 to our spell save DC by using Firebolt. They're Scorching right here. So yeah, that stacks up really quickly. With any time we deal fire damage, we get that Arcane Acuity. Cloak of Protection, just greater armor class, always nice, but you can use the Deathstalker Mantle if you're the Dirge. Wave Mother's Robe is good, but with taking the Cleric, again, the reason we'd want to do that is to give ourselves heavy armor, which is nice. And the Armor Persistence is going to be the best if you're a good aligned character. You can also get a good armor class with the Armor of Agility, allowing you to still do stealth and also get +2 to saving throws. The Dwarven Splint Mail is another good option too. This will give you a +2 to your Constitution as well, so it helps out with survivability. Obviously Helldusk Armor is a pretty good choice, but since we got heavy armor proficiency, we should use it. There's also the heavy mail, this adamantine scale mail. There's good early game option too if you add in the Tempest Domain, but yeah, this just gives us a lot more survivability. Now, to make ourselves even more lethal, the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies here will give us Reverberation if we deal Thunder, Lightning, or Radiant damage, which we got lots of spells like that. And the Boots of Stormy Clamor here, which will give you 2 turns of Reverberation when you apply a condition on a target. So this can be as simple as our Wild Magic Surge getting active. It also works on if you have the Lithid ability Drain, then our cantrips can remove or apply that. I also like the Staff of Spell Power is a good choice. These are also Act 1 items, so again, best available heavy armor, and there's no cloaks really in Act 1. Hat of Fire Acuity is an Act 2 item. Early game, use the Haste Helmet. And we're going to want to use Marka Heshker as our weapon here, because this gives us a really good ability with the Bolts of Doom. So Kreska's favor here, and then go Bolts of Doom. This will give us an extra lightning spell. or 2 of them, we get Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt. But it also will give us some extra benefits too. And we also have the Tide to Chaos there, which we want to have active to make sure that we do land our Wild Magic Surges, which I'll be showing off now in combat. All right, so starting off combat, we got an Ensnaring Strike, which does count as a spell. So we can use our controlled Chaos, inducing a Wild Magic Surge in a nearby spellcaster. Well, let's see what we get. And Wild Magic Cambion. Yeah, so the Cambion will jump in, and it fights everybody. So I'm glad it's over by them, so they now have to deal with it. Pretty cool. My Mage Hand went away. You can use Mage Hand to throw water bottles as well. That's a really good way to deal a little extra damage. Now we're going to use our Tide to Chaos here to give advantage on our next ability check. And what we're going to do is go with a Chain Lightning. We were able to set up water beforehand. Always go after the spellcasters because they can use things like command to stop us. And we're going to go with that there. Boom. Created the lightning. Broke that concentration. And for some reason didn't get a Wild Magic Surge there. That's weird, but... we also now set up a difficult terrain, but what we can even do even further is we got different damaging options like Ice Storm here to create some more difficult terrain, so we'll pop that down there. And Wild Magic Burning, so it made everyone within 6 meters start burning and take a 1d6 damage for a turn. So yeah, unfortunately all the people that were nearby end up getting hit with that too. And the burning also will apply reverberation. It ended up applying it to this target here, which is kind of nice. And as a sorcerer, we also have quicken spells. So we created a big area of difficult terrain there, which is great. We want to get our arcane acuity up, so we got it currently, which is kind of funny that the Wild Magic was able to trigger that. We got it up to a +4 from the burning, which oddly enough will trigger the Hat of Fire acuity there. So what we're going to do is, since the Scorching Ray is such a powerful spell, we're going to pop this off on a few targets here to further boost up our spell save DC. That stacked reverberation on them and also gave a bit of lightning charges, so that was nice too. But yeah, pretty strong. And the Cambion's nice because it's on our side, so it can help take out some enemies. It's not really on our side, but it deals with the enemies. And another controlled Chaos here, Ensnaring Strike. We're going to use a reaction on that. Gotta be careful though, because that means that you can't use Counterspell. And that slowed the target. That's perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. What's funny is the burning will also apply the lightning charges too. So, Command Grovel. We need a 19 to save, we rolled a 14. So with this, we can get advantage, giving us an extra die. We'd probably still fail this, but the Tides of Chaos can be a lifesaver, and we failed it. Yeah, nice. We also got our Bend Luck to be able to save our teammates. This will give a 1d4 penalty to the attack roll, which can keep our team alive. This we'd need to roll a 3, so it's not likely that we should use this because it burns through 2 sorcery points. And again, we got another controlled Chaos here, so let's see what we get. And boom, another Cambion. It's strange. That's not one that I've seen often, but it's nice because that just gives the enemy something else to focus on, and it broke the concentration. So that was actually worth doing it, despite using up our reaction there. And what's nice is the Cambion has low armor class, so it's going to draw a lot of attacks to it and away from our team. You can see they're just going right after the Cambion, so that can actually be a really useful one. And 2 of them just exploded from the lightning charges. I don't know how. The nice thing about lightning charges, though, is that it also will apply the reverberation, which can apply even further damage. Thank goodness we saved on that Command Grovel, because that would have been a game ender, just getting continually Command Groveled. So the nice thing is the Cambions have the same initiative here. We don't want to hurt the Cambion if at all possible, because right now it's drawing aggro away from us. So we can use something like we still have the +10 to our Arcane Acuity, so that's going to give us a really good hit chance, and that means we can drop another Chain Lightning. Now we got to do this in a way that we don't hit the Cambion if all possible. So I'm going to hit this target here, not going after the highest priority target. It still hit the Cambion and took them out, unfortunately. We got a Wild Magic Surge there, so I can now fly as a free action, which is great. I'm also in Lithid, so I already got that ability, but that's nice to have. I guess the thing is, we got to go after some of these spellcasters that are causing a big mess, so we'll next use an Arcane Battery, and I guess another Chain Lightning to take out any of these pesky spellcasters here. So we'll go after this one here, and hopefully this is going to be good Chain Lightning. Yeah, that got it. I took out 3 of them and applied reverberation on the last one. And yeah, since we're not burning through our sorcery points, we can then use another quicken spell here to give ourselves another spell. And there's 2 targets over here that we want to get rid of. So yeah, I guess Ice Storm is always a good choice. If there's water surfaces set up like there is, we could also use that. I want to eat the opportunity attack. Oh, critical hit. And use Ice Storm, because this is just going to give us some more crowd control here, making ice surfaces, and that hopefully take out some more. And I got hit with another Wild Magic Surge. Odaluk's Resilience Sphere, so that encased me in that for 2 turns. And affected entity is impervious to all spell effects and damage, can cast spells or deal damage, and movement speed is halved. So that's not ideal, obviously. We don't want that, but it's sometimes the game you play with Wild Magic. Now, what's funny is that you can counterspell the cambion, and we can also use the control chaos on it. So that's what I'm going to do. It applied it there. We turned it into a sheep. So our cambion is now a sheep with 3 health. That's hilarious. That's the Wild Magic Sorcerer for you. Now, the only fortunate thing with Odaluk's Resilient Sphere is we can't actually spellcast, but we can, yeah, you can see there, you can actually waste your spells if you're using things like the Mark of Heshker free cast there. We normally can't cast our spells. It blocks it, but if you have any abilities from a spell there, it can cast them, but then you don't do any damage. So that's really unfortunate. We can use Bend Luck to give bonuses. Really, there's not a lot that we can do right now, so that's kind of unfortunate. Again, another Bend Luck that's not likely that we should do it, and it uses a reaction which we want to save to do Wild Magic Surge. And another Ensnaring Strike for a Wild Magic Surge. And we got them with Odaluk's Resilient Sphere, so they can't attack us now. I guess tit for tat. And Odaluk's Resilient Sphere is now gone. Perfect. We still have a +10 to our Arcane Acuity too, so that's great. And this allows us to go ahead with some more damaging spells. The Cone of Cold, not the best option, but we have the spell slots to do it. And it created difficult terrain and took out 2 targets, so that was not bad actually. The cambion over there is fighting. This one here is stuck in that Resilient Sphere, so we can't do nothing. So we may as well just help out our cambion friend. And we'll just go ahead with a... Oh, we got a... I would recommend using Distance Spell if you're standing on ice, because otherwise you have a chance of going down. So I probably should have upcasted that, but we Reverberation on them. And I guess I'll burn off the rest of my sorcery points. We do have to move here, because unfortunately can't... Yeah, nice. Knew that was coming. But we knocked them prone, so they got the critical hit off, which is nice. They can't do anything but move, so great. And I can't reach that target again, so I'm just going to use Distance Spell. This reduces... We'll have 1 Quicken spell left after this. I think just a simple cast, that should work. Look at Fire Realms, may as well crack that. Boom, took that out. We still have the cambion to deal with, it's only got 5 health. And we can't actually attack this target, so we may as well take out the cambion. Because otherwise it's going to be a liability for us to deal with. Alright, so we have the cambion left. We're going to use 2 magic missiles to make sure that that finishes it off. And then we'll bump the rest of these into this target here. So, boom. Guaranteed damage. And Bend Luck needed a save. Reverberation, that's weird. So we can actually Bend Luck to make the Reverberation hit them. That's pretty funny. That's nice. And then they got knocked prone. Didn't know you could do that. But, yeah, then we'll get up right into their face and then blast away with a Scorching Ray to finish them off. So yeah, the Wild Magic Sorcerer has a lot of tricks up its sleeve. It's pretty powerful though. Being able to control the battlefield with random effects is quite fun, and I definitely recommend checking this build out if you wanted to have a fun new playthrough. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.